Not so cool runnings, rambling about Misunderstanding, a classic movie. At the start of this year, we had the Winter Olympics. I loved it. My wife and I watched hours and hours of random sports that you never watch unless the Winter Olympics is on. You know the ones: curling, figure skating, ski jumping, snowboard cross, a brilliant sport, and of course the biathlon. How cool is it that they just ski around and shoot things? The Winter Olympics is compulsory viewing in our house. No other programme gets a look in when it's on. It's like a window into a completely different world. I've never been skiing, snowboarding, or been involved in any serious winter sports. Don't feel bad for me. I live in the UK. Why would I? We barely ever get any snow, and when we do, it's not the reliable sort that stays around long enough for you to do anything with it. I did a bit of sledging when I was a kid, but these days any snow we do get doesn't seem to last more than one day. My brother Matt gets real snow where he lives, but that's another story. The only thing I've ever done which is even remotely considerable as a winter sport would be ice skating, something I recall myself being much better at than I ever find to be the case when I pull on a pair of skates. My sister-in-law took us skating this past Christmas at Battersea Power Station. That was brilliant fun, despite the fact I fell over at least 3 times. My youngest son is adamant it was 4 times. But who cares how many times I fell over? We had a great time. When I was growing up, I distinctly remember me and my best mate Shakil watching Cool Runnings 5 times in one summer holiday. We loved that film. We would happily reenact scenes together, calling out lines to one another. I was John Candy's character and he was an amalgam of all the Jamaican bobsled team. The iconic story of the Jamaican bobsled team in 1988 has to be a real high point of Winter Olympics lore. Although I was interested to learn only recently that the 1993 Disney film was not nearly as based on the facts of the matter as I had assumed it was. Apparently the crash is correct, but most of the rest of the movie is not. The bobsleigh team were actually recruited from the Jamaican Army, not their track team, and the team were not given the cold shoulder by other competitors. In fact, they were welcomed in warmly by the other teams, which basically means the only thing truthful about the film is that the Jamaicans had a bobsleigh team, and it crashed. Enter Sunshine's first law of history, which simply states, never learn history from a movie. Glenn Sunshine expands on this point with the corollary, films tell you more about the period in which they are made than the period in which they are set. Glenn Sunshine. This isn't the point of today's ramble, but I thought it was an interesting diversion. Now let's get back on track. Whilst teenage me was busy becoming word perfect with all of John Candy's lines, that doesn't mean I understood them all. The best example of this was for years I laboured under the illusion that the coach's high in, low out meant something quite different. In all the winter sliding sports like bobsleigh, skeleton bob and luge, high in, low out is the advice given to the pilots or drivers to help them navigate the course in the fastest possible way. Enter the corner high up on the track and then aim to explode out of the corner on the lower side of the track. This ensures that you carry the maximum speed through the turn. Well, I totally misunderstood this for years because Candy's coach character pointed at his eyes when giving this advice, so I'd always wrongly assumed that he was encouraging the driver to have gentle hands while steering the sled, as in high in, take a look around you and take in lots of information, low out, steer gently and make small adjustments. This is a lovely concept, but not at all what the coach was actually telling him about the best way to maximise your speed through a corner. I was completely wrong, and I remained wrong about this for many years. But I have to say that my misunderstanding has served me well. As a youth worker, I have often found myself in situations when it has been important for me to take in lots of information with my eyes and be very careful about what comes out my mouth. Most memorably would be finding myself acting as the first responder sent into a bedroom at the local YMCA I was working at. A young lad had just received some very bad news and had set about trashing his bedroom with a baseball bat. I sat outside the room with my manager and 2 police officers, and the 3 of them agreed it would be best for me to go in first, for reasons I still don't understand, to calm the lad down and to remove his bat. High in, low out. However misunderstood this advice had been, it was very helpful. For anyone concerned about the conclusion of that YMCA story, I waited for the lad to stop bashing up his room, and when it went quiet, I entered the room, instinctively ducked low when I noticed that the lad had collapsed on his bed. I wanted to keep my head lower than his so as not to appear threatening. Fortunately for me, he'd dropped the bat on the floor beside his bed as he'd collapsed, so I was able to pick it up and pass it behind me to the police, who followed me into the room once they saw that it was safe. Understand this, my brothers and sisters. You must all be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry. Human anger does not produce the righteousness God desires. James chapter 1, verses 19 to 20. Thankfully, James rescues my misunderstood movie quote. Be quick to listen and slow to speak and slow to get angry isn't quite high in, low out, but it's not a million miles away. I've had this verse on my office wall for the last decade or so. It's always good to be reminded that I need to maintain the discipline of listening more than I speak, and my colleagues would be delighted if I ever mastered this skill. They will assure you that I'm not at all close to achieving this goal. You got 2 eyes, 2 ears and 1 mouth, I was told by my teachers at school. A simple reminder that it is always a good idea to watch and listen before you speak. This is a lesson I'm still learning, and sometimes I'm better at it than others. On that note, I'll draw this ramble to a close. If you've had a bit of a chuckle at my expense and you think someone else would enjoy it, why not send them a link? Thanks for joining me today. I hope you can join me again soon for another ramble with my thoughts. Grace and peace.